We continue to track this story as and when it develops. Now, shifting focus to that battle that's going on in Pakistan. It's all-out war between the Pakistan Army and the Sindh police after heavy firing and clashes continued all night in Karachi. Heavy fire took place after the army tried to take custody of a superintendent of Sindh police, Muhammad Aftab Anwar. A shopping mall owned by the family of the Pakistan Army chief has been set on fire and looted by an angry mob in Karachi after the army opened fire on the Sindh police. Clashes have resulted in 2 casualties, and the Pakistan Army has taken over all police stations in Karachi. The army has also taken over the Pakistani media. So that's what's emerging in Pakistan, where the Imran Khan government is now under fire for this martial law that's been established in Sindh in the wake of that rally of 11 opposition parties who took on his government and even criticized the Pakistan Army. Now clashes have erupted between the Sindh police as well as Pakistan Army personnel. This also has emerged after Miriam Sharif's husband was taken into custody by the Pakistani Army, and which led to mass resignations of top police officials in the Sindh police. And now it's escalated into an all-out war in Sindh. Let's remember that Karachi is also not a stranger to street violence, which has taken place many times between the MQM and the Sindh police as well. And now it's in an unprecedented development. There clashes are emerging between the Sindh police as well as the Pakistan Army. Now, many are seeing this move as an effective move to pretty much silence the opposition, which held that massive rally in Karachi against the Imran Khan government. Thousands of people attended it, along with the senior leadership of the Pakistan People's Party and Nawaz Sharif's party as well. And as you can see in those visuals, it is all-out anarchy on the streets of Karachi as the Sindh police takes on the Pakistan Army. Pakistan Army being the de facto power in Pakistan. At the same time, the Imran Khan government has not given a reaction to the developments which are happening in Sindh, but it effectively looks like the Pakistan Army clamping down on the opposition as well as its support within the Sindh police and other elements in Sindh. And this also coming in the wake of that massive anti-government rally which took place in Karachi. Karachi being the financial heart of Pakistan, and such unrest is definitely a cause for worry. Imran Khan anyway under fire on Imran Khan anyway under fire from around the world, and now this unrest taking place on the streets of Karachi. We're joined by Ashok Sajanar, former diplomat. Good morning to you, sir. How do you see these developments taking place on the streets of Karachi and across Sindh?
Well, these are difficult times for Imran Khan. I think it was quite clear when the PDM, the Pakistan Democratic Movement, that was launched last month in September. And all the 11 parties have come together, whether it is Pakistan Muslim League or Pakistan People's Party, Nawaz Sharif, Bilawal Bhutto, all of them, including Jamaat-e-Islami of Maulana Fazlur Rahman. So all the 11 parties have got together, and they have, declared that they are going to hold these protests. First was in Gujranwala, second, as you said, was in Karachi. It was a huge turnout. And of course, now it is going to go to other cities also, whether Peshawar, and then congregate early next year in Islamabad. So I think the pressure on Imran Khan is rising. Pressure on the army is also rising. I think that is something new that is happening as far as this demonstration is concerned. Because earlier it used to be whatever demonstrations and protests used to take place, they used to be against the government in power, against the Prime Minister. But this time the army has also been, in so many words, targeted by Nawaz Sharif, by Bilawal Bhutto. Bilawal Bhutto maybe not in such strong terms as Nawaz Sharif, because Nawaz Sharif has a personal axe to grind against Qamar Bajwa, the army chief. But all of them have got together and they have said that the interference of army should be taken out and there should be democratic elections. Imran Khan has always been identified as a selected prime minister rather than an elected prime minister. He has failed on all fronts. So I think he is really hiding for cover, and that is what we see happening in Karachi and in other parts of the country.
Also, Mr. Sajjanar, can you take us, our viewers, through that precarious relationship Sindh has always had with Islamabad?
Yes, you're very right, because Sindh has the government of Pakistan People's Party. As you said, that is the commercial hub, that is the commercial capital. Karachi is to Pakistan what Mumbai is to India, so what New York is to the United States. So, all the commercial activity and moneyed people live there. So that's a very important part, although all the political power rests in Punjab, because that is where all the political big heavyweights are there. But Sindh is extremely significant, extremely important because of its first, the geographical location. It abuts the Arabian Sea and the Indian Ocean, and of course it's the wealth that it has. And of course it has been also the headquarters of Bhutto, of the Bhutto clan, whether it is himself, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, or his daughter, now Bilawal Bhutto and Zardari. So they have always been pitted against the central government in Islamabad. And that is, I think, what we are seeing now, that the police is, of course, supportive of the PDM, of the democratic movement and the protests. And that is why the army is come out with a very heavy hand to control the police, which seems to be more in tune with what the protesters are doing.
We're also joined by Pramit Pal Chaudhary, foreign policy analyst. Thank you for joining us. Do you see this move as a means to crush the PPP's influence in Sindh?
No, I think the PPP anyway has been struggling as a political party because Bilawal is, should we say, still learning on the job about how to respond and how to take over the reins of his mother and grandfather. Nawaz is very clearly the primary threat to Imran Khan, to some degree a threat to the military, though I don't think the military is overly concerned. They're mainly concerned that their civilian face, Imran, they don't really have a replacement for him. But yes, the army the ultimate strategy for the government is to splinter this opposition combination. They've done this before in previous, including Nawaz himself has often walked out of previous anti-military opposition groups and decided to strike his own deal with the army. And so I think that will be the primary response right now. And as others have mentioned, Nawaz in particular has taken a particularly harsh line against the army, naming specific generals who he says has suborned the democratic system, which under the Constitution of Pakistan would actually be acts of treason. But none of the other political opposition groups have gone so hard against the army. Definitely, as far as I know, they have not raised specific names of generals.
So, in your opinion, the Pakistan Army has pretty much become a political enforcer in the country. When has this happened before in the past? Is this unprecedented by any chance?
No, this has been, I think, the standard in Pakistan now, especially since Zia-ul Haq's time, where the Pakistani army saw itself as the final arbiter of the political system and final arbiter of policy decision-making in the country. The real difference that has happened, I would argue, is that in Musharraf, when General Musharraf became president, the Pakistani army was physically in charge. I mean, there was no civilian role whatsoever. And after his government fell, I gather a lot of the core commanders in the Pakistani army believed that his mistake was to be openly in power, that you should keep the civilians in front, let them sit on the throne while you control from behind the scenes. And they deliberately created the Imran Khan party. They created the party for Imran. When he failed to get an absolute majority in parliament in the last election in the National Assembly, they then created the coalition. They ordered various independents and Muslim Islamicist parties to join him. So everything they've done has been very carefully curated by the military. There are reports in the Pakistani media that even with the recent rally, before the recent rallies began in late September, they had quietly urged the opposition leaders to go ahead and attack Imran. We don't care about that, but keep the army out of it. But as we've mentioned, Nawaz has a very clear axe to grind with the military and has ignored that part of the request.
Mr. Sajjanar and Chaudhary, please stay with us. We're going to shift focus to that FATF challenge that is going to hit